Hello, I'm Jeffrey K. Mondello, editor of the Boston Catholic Journal. Today, I would like to explore with you one of the most difficult of Christ's teachings, loving our enemies. How is this possible? No one before Jesus, no one, ever made so sublime a statement as he did in his Sermon on the Mount. I quote, "Love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, bless them that curse you, and pray for them that calumniate you." He actually went a step further. Imagine, even more. If this were not enough, at the Last Supper, on the night of his betrayal, he said, "A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you." Think on that. We are to love not as we would have others love us, no, but as he loved us, as Christ loved us. And how much was that? We need only gaze upon Christ on the cross. That much. Will it surprise you then when I tell you that Christ does not ask us to bless those who curse us or to love our enemies? In strikingly clear terms, he commands us to. This is not an option for a Christian. It is the Lord's express will. Indeed, his commandment that we should do so. But how? There are, of course, people that we do not feel drawn to, people, in fact, whom we don't like at all, and some whom we even dislike intensely. It is, in fact, the case that there are people whom we simply find insufferable, even intolerable. And yes, some people are even virtually consumed with evil. But Christ still bids us to love them. What, you ask? Is this madness? How can I love whom I do not even like, and even may quite nearly detest? That really is the question at hand. How is it possible for us to love not only those we do not like, but even those who curse us, who vitriolically hate us, and even wish us dead? How profoundly we misunderstand love. Many never come to understand the true nature of love at all. How many marriages end in divorce because the flame of love has apparently been extinguished. How many beautiful romances have ended in disillusionment. When some tragedy mars our beauty, or encroaching age robs us of our youth, how often the love that once accompanied it simply dwindles, even seems to disappear. Has it been a bad investment? This terrible misunderstanding takes a toll on us that few of us recognize. We have invested our entire concept of love in merely one aspect of love alone, what is immediate and sensory. Love is reduced to and then totally invested in our emotions, period. If the feeling is gone, then the love has gone with it. If our senses, our emotional experiences are no longer stimulated by the other, we speak of the love withering. We can no longer feel it. It no longer excites us. We then come to the conclusion that the love has ceased. And in a sense it has. It has ceased being sensuous. In other words, one facet of the many surfaces of a gem has been obscured. The problem, however, is that it is precisely this facet of the jewel, and this facet alone, into which we have peered, and the surface light that had dazzled us, and in which we had found our own reflection, is no longer refracted off the stone. That is, we have looked at the stone, but not into it. We have seen, as it were, been blinded by, fixated upon, the surface light, without ever exploring the other facets which reveal another and very different world within the one we cling to love, a world of extraordinary complexity and breathtaking beauty. In short, it is the difference between holding a diamond at arm's length and admiring its beauty, and placing it before one's eye, where in crystalline light we stand in awe of the deep beauty within that surpasses in every measure the superficial beauty that we had seen from afar. It is the difference between peering at the beauty of another and peering into the beauty of another. To carry this analogy further, then, we may say that the bringing of the diamond to the eye is an act of the will, not an instinctive response to some emotional or sensuous impulse. In other words, we approach it with purpose, rather than colliding with it serendipitously. It is a conscious attempt to penetrate, rather than to reflect upon the deep mystery sequestered within it, to go beyond the appearances, however magnificent, to deeper and vastly more expansive realities that ultimately touch upon the very image of God. This, I think, is the most appropriate metaphor for the true nature of love. What is love, after all, to begin with? It is crucial to understand that love is not simply a feeling. Love is preeminently an act of the will. In essence, to love is to have the other person's total welfare at heart. It is to will them every good and evil in nothing. Good in all things and evil in nothing. Pause for a moment and think of someone you genuinely love. There is an affection in that love, surely. But how does your love for that person express itself, manifest itself, apart from the affection that is uniquely experienced toward that individual? When we think upon it, we soon find that affective expressions of love, that is to say, expressions simply involving our emotions, are only one part of our expression of our love for them. If our love is our affection only, it is solely a matter of feelings and emotion. If it is solely a matter of feelings and emotions, that is to say, if it is merely so many impulses over which we exercise little or no control, impulses which compel us toward the one that we say we love, how can we fail to see that it is little more than a compulsive act and not real love at all? Can we truly say that we are loving them freely, whom we love compulsively? If we do not give them our love freely, if we find ourselves compelled to love them, it is no love at all. It is concupiscence, mere desire masquerading as love, a seeking of selfish satisfaction that is much more invested in me than her, Love of this sort can only be understood in terms of a pathology. It is not what we understood when we entertain the notion of love. The point is this: Christ does not command us to have an emotion or a feeling toward a person. He cannot. Love of this sort cannot be commanded. It is simply the case. If we look at the matter carefully, we find that we can restrain our emotions, but we cannot compel them. We can restrain our anger, but we cannot spontaneously invoke it. We can no sooner be commanded to anger than to effective love. However, everything else apart from what is affective, that is, apart from what pertains to feelings or emotions, can in fact be commanded and is by Christ himself. Once we remove the affective element of love, understood as a palpable feeling, as something felt and expressed in purely emotional terms, everything else that pertains to loving another person is, in fact, subject to our will. We can will to do good to others, even while we cannot will to experience affection for them. It is within our power to say and to do everything that genuine love entails, everything by which we coherently understand one person as loving another, even if we do not have an emotional investment in that person. We can summarize this in 12 words. To love another is to will them every good and no evil. This statement is nothing new, but in 12 words, it succinctly describes all that is authentic in love. Yes, we can love those who vex us terribly and who would even bring us to injury. Yes, we can love whom we dislike. The love of which Christ speaks, the love that he commands, has nothing whatever to do with sensory gratification or emotional fulfillment. The sensory and emotional component of love between a man and a woman is a uniquely affectionate dimension of love that spontaneously arises between two people, in addition to their obligation to love one another in ways not pertaining to or expressive of emotional attachment. Understood in these terms, it is not the case of one love being superior to another. It is that affective love possesses a spontaneous dimension beyond the same obligations of love incumbent upon us all. It fulfills the precepts within this one individual and then exceeds them in a way of superabundance through an emotional investment that spontaneously emerges between two individuals in a way that does not characterize, but also does not diminish their love for others. Once we understand this, we realize that we are not called, still less compelled, to intimacy with others at large. That is absurd. Much of the touching and feeling that occurs with disturbing frequency at the Novus Ordo Mass is very likely the result of a confusion between love and intimacy. We tend to equate the one with the other, and when, with good reason, we feel uncomfortable with the intimate gestures of another, of others in the pews, with whom we are not on intimate terms, we are simply realizing this mistaken conflation of love and intimacy that is being forced upon us. It is essentially the difference between love as charity and love as intimacy. After all, God does not command us to be intimate with our neighbors, right? To bless others genuinely, ex corde, that is to say from one's heart, to bestow on them favor, mercy, goodness, is an act of reciprocal beneficence. For in blessing our enemies, those who hate us, those who do us harm, and who wish us evil, we bring upon ourselves an unspeakable blessing also. I'll quote our blessed Lord. Love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that persecute and calumniate you, that you may be the children of your Father in heaven. So then, bless friend and enemy alike. It is no more than our duty. And lest we think ourselves good and holy for doing this, Christ immediately calls us to humility, for he also tells us that, and I quote again our blessed Lord, when you shall have done all these things that are commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have only done our duty. And so we are. God keep you.